Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday, Major League Baseball. First up, a Wrigley Field afternoon game between the Athletics and the Cubs. We got Brady Basso and Javier Assad on the mound. Basso's pitched pretty well so far in his first 11 innings, or 14 and 2/3 innings with 11 strikeouts with a sub-2 ERA. But on the other side, Javier Assad has been so strong at Wrigley Field this season. A 2.24 home ERA and about 64 innings of work. It's really tough to go against that. I think the Cubs have the better lineup as well. So right now I'm going to go with the Cubs on the money line at Wrigley Field. Next up, we'll go to Coors Field as the Diamondbacks take on the Rockies. Eduardo Rodriguez and Austin Gomber, a pair of lefties on the mound. And this one, Austin Gomber's been putting together some really strong performances recently. You look at his last 5 games, giving up 3 runs or fewer in 4 of those 5. And the Rockies won 3 of those 5. One of them against the Braves as a big-time dog on the road. And, Gomber, his last start against the Cubs, got into some trouble early in that game, but was able to get out of the jams. And he only gave up 2 runs through 6 innings, a quality start. Ended up being a Rockies win, 9-5 the final. And for me, when you look at Eduardo Rodriguez's struggles this year, an ERA of 5.5, the expected ERA not much better. He's given up a lot of sharp contact, and the Diamondbacks have lost his last 3 games. Diamondbacks are a tough lineup, especially against lefties. They've been strong against lefties this year, but I still think that there's value with the Rockies at home in this one. So I'm going to roll with the Rockies on the money line behind Gomber. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Los Angeles Angels. We got Garrett Crochet and Jack Kohanowitz on the mound. Kohanowitz struggled in that last game against Minnesota. 4 earned runs in 5 2/3, gave up 7 base hits to go with it, and a home run in a 6-4 Angels loss. They've now lost 4 of his last 5 games. I don't really love him in this matchup, even though it's the White Sox. Garrett Crochet, he has not really pitched deep into ball games for the last couple of months, but he's still a good option in this White Sox rotation, in my opinion. He went last game 4 innings, a 1-run ball, 4 strikeouts, no walks, and I think he could pitch similar, numbers in this spot. I think the White Sox have the lead through the first 5 innings. Don't love that White Sox bullpen, so give me Chicago in the first 5. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles hosting the San Francisco Giants. We're going to see Hayden Birdsong and Dean Kramer on the mound. Birdsong had one of his best starts of the season in that last game against Milwaukee. 5 innings of shutout ball with 4 strikeouts, only 1 walk given up. And that's the same Brewers team that he faced a couple weeks ago that gave up, he gave up 5 earned runs and a homer with 4 walks as well. So that was definitely a bounce back start. He got some revenge in that game against Milwaukee. I think he pitches okay in this one. I mean, Dean Kramer has not been the best at Camden Yards this season, so I think Birdsong is going to get some run support. And the Giants' bullpen's been okay in the last month. Decent expected numbers and solid ERA. So I'm going to roll with the Giants here at a great price. I think the value lies with San Francisco. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see Spencer Schwellenbach and Jacob Junis on the mound. Junis definitely earned a spot in this rotation, or at least earned this start with how well he's pitched with his new team. A 3.0 ERA in 30 innings of work, but the expected numbers aren't the best. Only 23 strikeouts in those 30 innings. The key is, though, only 2 walks with his new team. That's pretty impressive in 30 innings of work, so his control's been good. I still think the Braves will be able to get to him for a few runs. And, Schwellenbach definitely bounced back in that last game against the Dodgers. He struggled quite a bit against Toronto on September 7th, but the game against LA, he went 6 innings of 2-run ball with 6 strikeouts. Now, this is a tough spot on the road at Great American for any young pitcher. I mean, we just saw Spencer Arrighetti get crushed at Great American, and he still, had a solid rookie campaign. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Reds get to Schwellenbach for a few. That's why I maybe lean towards the over, but I still think the Braves are the better team, and they have the much better bullpen in this series. So give me Atlanta in this one in a lean. Next up, we have a great pitching matchup here between the Houston Astros and the San Diego Padres. Framber Valdez and Dylan Cease. This is going to be one of the best games of the week. And, when you look at this matchup, the Padres in the last month have not done much against left-handed pitching. However, their BABIP is very, very low, about 235. That's just, plainly unsustainable. I think going forward, the Padres should have some better luck against lefties, but they really have a low strikeout rate and a high walk rate. in the last month. 12% strikeout rate is super low against lefties. The thing is, Framber Valdez, while he's been able to earn some missed bats recently, he is still somebody that I would consider a pitch-to-contact pitcher because he's able to get those ground ball outs. That's been something he's been able to do, throughout his career. I mean, you look at his first two starts of September, a 12-3 and a 13-6 ground ball to fly ball ratio. He does a great job at limiting sharp contact. He hasn't given up a home run since August 6th, and he keeps the ball on the ground so he can get those double play outs. For that reason, I do think San Diego struggles offensively in this game quite a bit, and Framber's been one of the hottest pitchers in baseball. Dylan Cease has been also great in the second half of the season. He's coming off a 10 strikeout performance, shutout performance against San Francisco. I think he pitches well, but I think the Astros get to him for a couple of runs, and in a low-scoring game, I like the Astros to win it. Next up, we see the Dodgers and the Marlins. We got Landon Knack for Los Angeles, no official starter for Miami. For me, the Marlins are the play in this one. I mean, the Marlins bullpen in the last month, 7th best xFIP in baseball compared to the Dodgers bullpen, which is ranked dead last at 30th, 4.75 xFIP. That's the worst. And the next team is 4.49, the Pittsburgh Pirates. So pretty big gap there. And the Dodgers bullpen, while the ERA is still strong so far, I do worry about regression going forward. Then you look at the Marlins' offense against right-handed pitching in the month of September and the last 30 days. So far in September, they're 5th in OPS. Their isolated power numbers have improved as well. This is a tough Marlins lineup against a righty right now, and Landon Knack's not coming off a great outing. You look at his last game, he gave up 5 earned runs in only 2 innings of work, 7 base hits, and a couple of home runs to go with it. The Dodgers have lost 3 of his last 5. Give me the Marlins in this one on the money line and the run line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We got Bailey Ober and Tanner Bybee on the mound. This is a tough one because Bybee has struggled notably at Progressive Field this year, but Bailey Ober has been super inconsistent recently. His last 4 games, 2 of those were outstanding starts, and the other 2 were miserable outings. So it's we're not really sure what we're going to see from Ober. He did pitch at Progressive earlier in this season and struggled quite a bit in that game. He faced the Guardians one other time at Target Field at home and pitched really well. So I think that Ober could struggle yet again in this spot, and I think the Guardians do have the slightly better lineup right now against a righty and the better bullpen. So I'm going to go with the Guardians on the money line at Progressive Field. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to see Cooper Criswell and Ryan Pepiot on the mound. Pepiot in the last game was pulled out for the second inning against the Guardians, and the reason why Kevin Cash pulled him was because his velocity was down. He was a little bit concerned with that, and he struggled in that game, giving up 4 hits and 2 runs. I am a little bit worried about him in this first start back from that, and Cooper Criswell's been sharp on the other side. Now his ERA is sub 4 on the season. I think he's a better option, at least right now, and I think the Red Sox have the better lineup. So give me Boston in this one on the money line. Next up, the Washington Nationals taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see a pair of lefties on the mound in this one, DJ Hertz and Jose Quintana. Quintana has been really impressive recently. Got to give him credit. He was struggling quite a bit, but look at his last 4 games, 1 earned run or fewer in all 4 of those starts. A couple of those were tough matchups against the Padres and the Phillies. His strikeout numbers still aren't really there, and the control's been inconsistent, but he's getting outs. He's limiting base runners. I think he pitches pretty well. I think the Mets win this game. They've been strong against lefties. Give me the Mets on the run line. Next up, the Kansas City Royals taking on the Detroit Tigers. We're going to see Tarek Skubal and Alec Marsh on the mound. We know Skubal is the favorite to win the AL Cy Young, but he has had some trouble with this Kansas City Royals lineup. You look at the last 2 matchups against KC. One was back on August 2nd, where he gave up 5 earned runs and 7 base hits in a 9-2 Royals win. The other back on May 22nd at Kauffman Stadium, 5 innings, 4 earned runs, a home run, and an 8-3 Royals win. So both of those blowout victories. You look at Alec Marsh on the other side. He's pitched well at Kauffman Stadium, decent numbers at Kauffman. He's got his last 5 games, 3 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those starts. He had 11 strikeouts in that last game against the Pirates, and the Royals have won 4 of his last 5 games. I got to roll with the Royals in this one at a great price at Kauffman Stadium. Next up, the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Aaron Nola and Freddie Peralta are the starters. Nola is struggling quite a bit right now. You look at his last 2 starts, giving up 10 earned runs combined, 4 home runs to go with it, 15 base hits, and both of those were blowout losses for the Phillies against the Marlins and the Mets. And it's not going to get too much easier here in Milwaukee. A very solid lineup, and Freddie Peralta's in solid form himself. You look at it, 5 innings of 1-run ball against the Diamondbacks. Very tough lineup in that last game. 5 strikeouts in a Milwaukee win, and the Brewers have won 3 of his last 4. I like this Brewers bullpen. Give me the Brewers in this one on the money line. Next up, we'll go to the NL Central as the Pirates take on the St. Louis Cardinals. We got Luis Ortiz and Sonny Gray on the mound. Gray has been excellent at Busch Stadium this year, a 2.56 ERA. Another quality start at home in that last game against the Reds. 6 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. He's in great form overall, and I think when you look on the other side, Luis Ortiz, not in the best form, giving up 4 earned runs in 4 innings in his last game against the Royals. We've talked about how he was excellent out of the bullpen and as a reliever, not as efficient, as effective as a starter. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals in this one on the money line. In our next game, we go to Globe Life Field as the Rangers take on the Blue Jays. We're going to see Bowden Francis and Cody Bradford as the starters. Now, that last game for Bradford, we had talked about that previously. He had pitched really well, but he had also faced a really weak strength of schedule against teams that weren't really hitting lefties. And now, he faced the Diamondbacks at Chase Field. Doesn't really get much tougher than that. And he gives up 8 earned runs and 3 home runs. Now, the Blue Jays are not the Diamondbacks, and this is not Chase Field, so I do think this is a much better matchup for Bradford, but I still worry about him a little bit right now, and with how well Bowden Francis has pitched on the other side, he was 1 inning shy of a no-hitter, and while he did give up the tying run and ended up, the Blue Jays lost that game, he was still really sharp in that ball game. He's given up 3 earned runs or fewer his last 5 starts, and he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball, really the last 2 months, so I got to go with the Blue Jays in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the New York Yankees. Nestor Cortez and Bryce Miller are your starters. Now, this is a game where you got to be careful a little bit when you're looking at the statistics because in the month of September, Seattle is top 10 right now in team OPS against lefties and top 15 in isolated power. But you look at those OPS and ISO numbers, the ISO is 143, which is not great, and the OPS is sub 700, which is also not great. So really, the league is just struggling in general against lefties right now. So be careful when you're looking at those types of numbers. But the strikeout rate is the key for me. I mean, a very low strikeout rate for the Mariners against lefties recently. That's a big step in the right direction for a team that we know has struck out so much this year. I think that they have a decent matchup against Cortez, but the problem for me is the Yankees have great numbers against Bryce Miller in their matchups against them. It's a pretty small sample size because Miller's still a pretty young pitcher, but in 38 plate appearances, a very low 10.5% strikeout rate, a low walk rate, but a very high expected slugging percentage, 774 with a 443 WOBA. I think the Yankees, their power hitters could really get to Miller early in this one. As long as Cortez can put together a decent effort, which recently he's been that type of starter, I think the Yankees will find a way to win this game in the end. So give me the Yankees in this one on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.